Hey everybody, it's Atheist for the Cause here, bringing you a new video about the Miss USA 2017 pageants. And we had some interesting developments. I knew that some of these feminist outlets would freak out right away, and I thought it was quite funny. But on the topic of feminism, to give you a little introduction, I'm a men's rights activist, and I think a lot of you understand by now that feminism is not about equality for the sexes. It's about, and it's not even about women's rights. It's about, you know, pushing superiority for women, holding men down to help women get more. And there, I was happy to see that some of the contestants in Miss USA felt that way. So let's go through it. This article from Bustle is titled, "Are the Miss USA 2017 contestants feminists? The final round proved that the world is often misunderstood." It seems even some Miss USA 2017 contestants could use a refresher on what feminism means. Little condescending, isn't it? The whole ideology that claims to be for women, you can already pick up on a condescending tone that's going to put women down for, once again, having the wrong beliefs. It's quite a tyrannical ideology. So when the final, and it oppresses women quite a bit, actually. Or if you don't like the term oppressive, if that's too strong, it does hold women down and silences them, because you can't have your opinion. You can only have your opinion if you agree with what feminism is. And then that's no longer really the opinion of women, as the opinion of feminism. So it says, when the final three contestants were asked about what feminism means to them, they gave a range of answers that highlighted common misconceptions about feminism. Miss District of Columbia in particular missed the mark, saying she preferred to see herself as someone who is for the big bad equalism rather than feminism. Of course, feminists are for equality. Oh yeah, feminists are so for equality that they're writing an article upset that the District of Columbia is saying she's for equalism. That's how for equality feminism is. And see, all you have to do is look at what feminists get outraged by to see that they're not for equality at all. If they were truly for equality, they wouldn't care about this equalism. They'd be like, yeah, equalism, let's go. We have some issues to work on. But no, they're like, no, equalism is bad. You got to use the term feminism. Of course, that includes equalism, but, don't use that term equalism. Equalism is a threat to feminist superiority. The movement is not about being anti-men at all, despite what this finalist said in her answer. This article right here is proving that feminism is anti-men. By being anti-equalism, writing this article, complaining that she is self-identifying as an equalist, that shows that you're anti-equalism. Otherwise, you wouldn't have a problem with her identifying that way. And she has every right to identify that way, and she shouldn't be attacked by you if you're stating to agree with her. I mean, think about what this article is really saying. She's doing nothing wrong, but we're gonna single her out and put her down because we don't like this word, even though it's accurately describing everything. So anyways, if you click on this "contestants were asked what feminism means" link, it takes you to an article about race and, diversity, I guess I'll say. And the reason I'm going to bring this up is because it really goes back to intersectionality and, intersectional feminism. And you can't separate the issue of race and the issue of gender rights when it comes to feminism. And this is where the whole, if you don't believe me that feminism is an ideology, this proves it, because, you know, here they're all caught up in the racial aspect. What do you know? A feminist caught up in the racial aspect of minorities getting into the top 10, and it's effectively an anti-white stance. This is common among feminists, and if feminism wasn't an ideology, then why would being anti-white be so common among feminists? It's taught. Why would it be? Why would, you know, diversity, quote unquote, and all these racial aspects be taught in classes like gender studies or women's studies? You know, and I say women's studies, but they're run by feminists. So let's go through the article real quick. I'm only going to say a couple things on it because this isn't really about race as much, and there's a lot of types of feminism that aren't intersectional, so just keep that in mind. But it says the diverse top 10 women, and then it goes on to list them, and there's 7 out of the top 10 finalists were women of color, and this is a huge achievement that they're bragging about. Now they go on to list some tweets, and I just and they make this mistake themselves, but I want to really break this down a little bit, especially this by Victoria A. It says 7 out of 10 of the top 10 Miss USA women are women of color. This is what America looks like. Not everyone has blonde hair, blue eyes. Hashtag diversity. First of all, where are the fat women? There were no fat women. Where were the men? There were no men. There were no transgenders. This is what America looks like? Are you homophobic? Are you xenophobic? Are you, you know, every other type of phobic out there? Are you misandrist? And to break this down, so keep in mind she's saying that 7 out of 10 women are women of color, or finalists are women of color, and that is apparently what America looks like. So let's get beyond, you know, how far we can group this, because we can add all these groups, and you can never have enough diversity if you keep grouping things further. There were no handicapped women in Miss USA, so. But if we bring up the demographics of the United States, white alone makes up 72.41%. So we'll just say 70% and take it down. Blacks make up 12%. We'll call it 15 about. Mixed or some other race is about 9%. Asian alone is about 5%, not quite. And then Native Americans, Alaskan Natives, Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islanders together make up just over 1%. So if you add all this up, you're talking like, say, 15 and 5 with all this. So it's about 20%. Maybe that's actually overestimating if you don't include the mixed. And 70% white is underestimating. And even if you include the mixed races, which is going to include a lot of white people who are mixed in, but we do generally consider them minority if they're white and some sort of minority. So we'll call it 30% compared to 70%. So if it was truly an accurate representation of what America looked like on race, 7 of 10 finalists would have been white, and 3 of 10 finalists would have been any form of minority. So, you know, that just shows you they're completely out there. They're not in touch with reality. all they think about is groups, in the bottom it says the pageant world finally appears to be reflecting the awesome diversity of backgrounds in this country, and that's really what it comes down to is do you care more about groups and representing all groups equally, or do you care about individuals and representing individuals accurately, with an equal representation of those groups they belong to. So, I think most true liberals, it sounds like a no Scotsman fallacy, but it's not a no true Scotsman's fallacy, because I'm talking about, falling into the actual definition of what it means to be liberal in today's society, and what it means to be progressive, as in liberals and progressives having conflicting viewpoints. And progressives have a more collectivist type of thinking where it's all based about groups. You keep grouping people as much as you can, and then push them whatever group it doesn't have power. And whatever group is the majority group, you always want to be anti that group. And I say majority in terms of power. But if you're liberal, you want to push, the individual and the rights of that individual, and the idea that the group a person belongs to does not determine their fate. So, but anyways, there were 2 slaps in the face to feminism among the pageants as well, and I wanted to get in the questions section. They ask questions in the top 5, and then they ask another question in the top 3. So here is the answer by Illinois. In the top 5, they all get a different question. Top 3, it's all the same. So Illinois got a question about women's rights, and she actually brings up a men's rights issue that is about how the accused also need, the accused of crimes also need to have some sort of representation and be protected. So here's her answer.
Advocates of women's rights have been leading the conversation this year. Which specific issue regarding women's rights is most important to you?
The most important issue is being able to be open and speak honestly about your experience in whatever workforce that you are in. Women should be able to speak about their experience without being scared of retaliation for what they have to say, and everything that they have to say should be investigated to the fullest extent, and both parties, the accused or the accusee, should be protected in the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Illinois.
Now you see, it was a women's rights issue, and there are some wrongfully accused women. I'm not saying they're not, but it's overwhelmingly a men's rights issue. Overwhelmingly, it's women who are falsely accusing men for power, or, especially in custody battles, but not just that, to move up in the workplace, and, even the threat of it, all kinds of things to extort money and just to gain power over the person they're accusing for whatever reason. And then, that really didn't have anything to do with the question. She got knocked out. While I liked her answer, I didn't really think it was a good answer for the question, but I'm glad she said it. Unfortunately, she didn't move on, but District of Columbia moved on somehow. It was kind of funny because in the previous round, she said that healthcare is a privilege. So because work is a privilege, and we should try to make jobs for people so that you can go to work and get healthcare. That was basically her argument, and somehow that she made it through. But then she dropped this absolute bombshell against feminism and still won. Do you know what kind of progress we have made that the District of Columbia can drop this kind of bombshell, which really is set up to be a softball question to easily say, yeah, I'm a feminist and I agree with feminism, and they, to push feminism. That's what it's intended for. And she just destroys that idea. And it's quite funny to see the feminist media freaking out about that. So enjoy this answer.
What do you consider feminism to be? And do you consider yourself a feminist?
Yes, you do. Absolutely, you get a microphone. Here we go.
So as a woman scientist in the government, I've liked to lately transpose the word feminism to equalism. I don't really want to consider myself, try not to consider myself like this, die hard, I don't really care about men. But one thing I'm going to say is, though, women, we are just as equal as men when it comes to opportunity in the workplace. And I say firsthand, I have witnessed the impact that women have in leadership in the medical sciences as well as just in the office environment. So as Miss USA, I would hope to promote that type of leadership responsibility globally to so many women worldwide.
Thank you.
I absolutely love that answer. So what does she think about feminism, and is she a feminist? She never answered directly, but it's definitely implied that she is not a feminist. She likes to transpose the word equalist or equalism. And, now you see what the original article that I was talking about, why they were flipping their shit. I'm going to go back to that. It says more to come. They're not done with this. And they're quite upset. And it's going to be awesome to watch them continue to flip their shit. But the amazing thing to me is you had a woman in the top 5, in Miss Illinois, who's getting completely overlooked, throw in effectively a men's rights response to a women's issues question. And then you also had the District of Columbia in the top 3 be the rebel of the group, really put herself out there, everything on the line. And Miss USA is on the line. This is the last stage, and she throws that bombshell where she won't even call herself a feminist as a woman at the top. You guys have I'm sure some of you do, but that just, one thing feminism likes to do is take credit. Anytime a woman gets to the top, she got to the top because of feminism. And when women get to the top, and don't call themselves a feminist, they tear them up. The feminists try to tear those women apart. And it just shows you how tyrannical and, to some extent oppressive it is for feminism is towards women. I think of that, I can never say her name properly, but Kaylee Cuoco, or what, the girl from Penny from The Big Bang Theory, when she refused to call herself a feminist, and there was so much outrage that she had to later come and apologize for saying she wasn't a feminist, and then say that she was a feminist. I mean, how pathetic is that? That's the way feminists have to go to try to get, supporters. They should do a little introspection and figure out why these women are turning away from feminism. And I can tell you why. I'm almost certain I can tell you why almost all of these women that are turning away from feminism, why they are. They all deal with men who have had issues, and they see that the pain that feminism causes men. They see the unfairness. I'm not going to go to it, but in one of the questions, I think it was in the top 5, where it was about, or maybe it was in the top 3 even, where she's talking about the questions about some sort of women's rights issue, and she is talking about how, education is important, and she's going to continue to push education for women, and she's really proud of that, and they need that for equality for the future, and that proves feminism. We need feminism and all. And it's like, it really just got me mad, because one issue that is a serious men's rights issue that men cannot get, and it's more of a boys' rights issue, but it includes college men. Men cannot get much traction is education. Women are graduating at higher rates at almost every level of education. And yeah, here we have feminist women saying that education for women is a women's rights issue, and she didn't specify like around the world. Okay, yeah, in some areas they can't, they can't learn, like in Afghanistan and places like that, women aren't supposed to learn. Well, yeah, obviously it's a women's rights issue there, but in the United States, education is a men's rights issue. And, look at any statistic, look at dropout rates, look at who's getting the degrees. The only statistic men had in their favor, it was like postgraduate degree or something like that, where very few people get them. And I don't even know if that still holds anymore, where more men get postgraduate degrees than women. I think that's even evened out, and we know what way the scale is tipping on that. So the women are ahead in almost every level of education, and they still want more. More. Feminists will never be happy. So, thanks for listening. I'm just extremely excited that not only did 2 of the finalists in the top 5 stand up against feminism, they one of those 2 actually won it. And if you say 2 out of the 5 stood up against feminism, that's 40% of the top 5. And that really shows that the statistics where something like 50% of women, or 50% of the population, aren't calling themselves feminists anymore. Even among women, the rates are like 40%. If I remember right. Sorry, I'm going off the top of my head, but it holds true even in the pageant, where these are more of progressive pageants. So the fact that that these women would not only say this, but also win, well, one of them would win, it's really exciting times. And it just shows the damage we're doing to feminism, and, that equality is winning out. Egalitarianism, to some extent, is winning out. And, I think men's rights activists have had a huge impact. In fact, for a little of the background, men's rights activists have had a huge impact on Gamergate. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. It was men's rights activists that were training up Gamergate, or Gamergaters, or whatever you want to call them. Because feminists went for the Gamergaters, and Gamergate was not a group. It had to quickly form to defend themselves from feminism, because they were losing what they had, and feminism, like it always does, co-ops things. Well, it doesn't build its own empire, it steals the empire of others. They're like a starling. And you know, it's really the men's rights activists that went out teaching the Gamergaters how to argue, what their points were going to be, how to argue against those points. And don't get me wrong, Gamergaters did a great job. They had their own message about journalism, and they came up with some of their own points, but a lot of what they used was the material of the men's rights activists. So, and that's where a huge chunk, or that's where a huge chink in the armor happened for feminism, because men's rights at that time, it didn't have the best image. There was so much character assassination and for so few men's rights activists that it was easy to just like tear down men's rights, the credibility of men's rights activists, and people are like, well, I don't really know many of these people in my life, and you know, they kind of seem like just some weirdos on the internet that are, you know, upset. But then the Gamergaters, that was a big group. You can't just attack them and say that, and it's also a broad group, and it so you can't just attack them and say that, you know, all of gamers are somehow misogynist and all of that as well. And the feminists tried it, but it didn't work, because people were kind of waking up like men's rights activists are misogynist, and now all of these gamers that were doing their own thing are somehow misogynist. So what does everybody, you know, who deals with feminism become a misogynist? And people really started to wake up. Feminism is now, you know, the boy who cried wolf, except they're the girl who cried wolf. But I shouldn't say that, because feminism is not just, you know, it's not just women, it's men as well. There are, you know, there are male and female feminists, and there are male and female men's rights activists. So, but anyways, I'm gonna end it here. I don't have much else to say, but for a little refresher, it's quite exciting that the feminist media is losing their shit after we had a Miss USA winner of the 2017 pageant literally be against feminism and declare themselves to be for equalism. So we're making progress. Have a great day, guys.